think it was a great surprise to me that there didn't seem to be an existing prize like focused on this issue. And maybe there are, maybe there is one that exists out there that I don't know about, but there's nothing very prominent that's easily searchable. I did find that there was a small prize, like £1,000 or something like that, being given by like a small council in the UK for people in the area, but there was nothing that was either on a national or kind of global level. In parallel to all of this, I am part of a group called Nexus, which is the largest group of young philanthropists in the world. And so as part of the Australian committee, I was curating the environmental content, and I got to interview amazing people like Jane Goodall, who's a messenger of peace. And
wow.
So I really wanted to, this was all during COVID, so part of it was live and part of it was online. And I was like, how do we really, I guess, not just have amazing speakers, but really connect people to the issue and make them, provide them with resources they can read before, but also get them emotionally primed so they're really receptive to the content they're about to hear or the interview they're about to listen to. Music is intrinsic to every culture. I don't think it's particularly young. I don't think it's particularly young people. It's like oral storytelling is like part of every tradition in the world. Singing or some kind of, performance is also like universal and human. And even, if you look at different types of birds and things do like mating dances. And so I think it's really, I think it's viscerally part of who we are and what connects us, culturally. And I read More Than Wine music is fantastic, which I think is like, everyone understands that on a more basic level. I think the piece that was really interesting for me is a podcast called Our Climate Anthem, and they interview a specialist in African-American civil rights. And basically she lays out that every single great social movement has had an anthem. So obviously like the civil rights had a few anthems like They Shall Overcome, women's rights had things like I Am a Woman. And then, obviously the French Revolution had the Marseillaise, which is now the French national anthem.
Yes, true.
So, and the climate doesn't really have one anthem per se, or nothing very strong that stands out. And this thing of like really conveying a clear message, bringing people together, binding them, and also having some kind of positive outlook or hope is also really important to that, because when things get tough, you need a kind of vision of that there is something on the other side that you're fighting for. And by joining hands and singing together or singing to yourself, it's a really good way to remind yourself of that and find the strength to keep going when times are really tough. So I started working on the concept. I then partnered with Green Music Australia. That's the charity that exists in the space to help the music industry become more sustainable through, like plastic-free concerts and carbon offset different touring things and like a whole range of different initiatives. And so they did some research on Triple J's Hottest 100, which is obviously, a great barometer of Australian popular culture with nearly 3 million votes a year. Yeah. And only 1% of songs over the last 5 years, so 5 of 500 pretty much, even referenced an environmental issue. And I was like, it's crazy. You've got all these young people that care about this issue. And then the contemporary music that's done by artists, most of whom also care about this issue, is not reflecting that. Wanting to do things big, I wanted to launch a global straight away. And my friends very quickly dissuaded me from doing that. So thank you to them for making me be a bit sensible. So year one is in Australia. really kind of proving the model and testing and seeing what works and what doesn't. And also because it's actually strategically important to do it in Australia this year. We're one of the countries that's actually been blocking progress globally in terms of climate accords, and we're also like investing heavily in like the coal and gas-led recovery post-COVID. So I felt like the need was most urgent here. It was also like home base and where we could be most strategic. Then there's a federal election, which is coming up in now probably a month in Australia. And, you know, the decisions that are made at a government level are really important. And most Australians care about this, but aren't really instructing their politicians in whatever political party they're for, that this is like a top of mind issue. And so I started thinking, like, how can you touch this middle part of the population, not the diehard, like, you know, climate people like me who read all the science, and not the people who don't care at all, but, you know, the 80 to 90% of people in the middle who kind of know, kind of care, want to do something about it, but maybe aren't sure how, and also reach them where they are. You know, maybe they're not reading the news, maybe they're on Instagram or they're on WeChat or whatever their platform is. And 87% of Australians follow an artist. So music is a really obvious avenue to be able to reach those people in a really targeted way. The messenger is someone that they already trust and have some kind of like emotional connection with. The whole model around the prize is really around impact partnerships. So obviously partnerships with the music industry, but actually more importantly, really strong relationships within the environmental sector, because the aim of the prize is really to create new communication tools for grassroots organizations and environmental organizations to communicate with people and reach people in a new way, and create the link between artists and those environmental organizations, but also, I guess, make it strategic and centralize that information. Very quickly, some big partners have come on board. So the CEO of Greenpeace on the shortlisting committee and is like very much on board with the concept. Universal Music is also on board, and some other big music groups. And part of the model around that is, you know, obviously we would love to get some really strong media and media partnerships and things like that. But there's already going to be great reach through the environmental partnerships. So Greenpeace, for example, has an audience of 1.2 million people in Australia. There's a whole host of other environmental organizations that are coming on board as well, who will also be sharing it. And then there'll be unlikely partners, like, you know, might be consulting firms or a law firm, or, you know, new groups who say, yeah, our staff are really engaged around sustainability issues and we're really happy to share this. So Montaigne was amazing. She was the first ambassador. She actually came on board like almost straight away when it was just a pitch deck and a concept. She's actually been she's actually been on the board of Green Music Australia, so she also kind of understands what it is, you know, to be involved in campaigns. She also actually wrote a really amazing climate anthem called Ready. So she was the perfect ambassador in the sense that she encapsulated everything that we would want, like someone who's created the music, who's been active, who's used their voice. I kind of almost regretted when she first came on board as an ambassador. I'm like, oh, now I've excluded this really great song from winning.
True.
But it was wonderful to have her for the credibility, and she's been really, really amazing and really supportive. And then Heidi, obviously, as well, is extremely unique. For those of you who don't know who she is, she's the lead singer of Cloud Control, and she also started getting interested in climate and delved into it. And, you know, obviously touring is super carbon intensive. And so what most artists do who want to do the right thing is buy carbon offsets, but it's, you know, this one-off transaction thing. It's like, keep polluting, keep paying out, and then, you know, artists are already in like a constrained like economic model where they only make money for a short period of time and then their career is over. So she met with some like more strategic people, and she's created the first like solar fund for artists. So Future Energy Artists is actually a solar investment fund. They've raised over $7 million in investment from groups like Midnight Oil and Vance Joy and Peking Duck and others. And that has gone on to build solar farms in solar panel farms in Queensland. And so it generates electricity for like the local community. And it also then creates revenue for the artists going forward. So it becomes a new revenue stream for them. And so they're doing well. They're doing well for the planet, but they're also doing well for themselves. So it's a really, really brilliant model. Normally what you would have done if there weren't these pressing environmental, like the environmental imperatives of the prize took over the music side. So if you're launching classic music prize, you would say, we're launching this prize in like a year, and then we'll give you a year to write music, and then we'll extend for another 6 months, and And lots of music prizes actually operate in that way. Whereas I was like, no, we have to launch like ASAP. And so we're going to look backwards with things that already exist. And then we're going to put everything in this very short time frame because we need it right now for this like emergency that's happening. And we need to get people mobilized at this point in time. So we did a bit of research of what songs existed. And so obviously I had a bit of a wish list. And so I worked my way down while the prize had been publicly released through APRA. Yeah, instinctively, I'd say probably like, kind of 20 to 30 entries are by like recognizable artists. I have to say like, and then the less, and then, you know, there's the recognizable artists that are like frequently on radio. Yeah. Then there's like next chance sounds of like established artists that maybe not getting that much airtime. And then there's like probably, you know, 100 or so entries were from more like undiscovered artists who don't really have a following and that or like a big following yet. Well, I have to say that there was my expectation, which was not the case. So like, I guess going into this, I would assume that there'd be a large group of artists in a similar vein of like, you know, songwriters like John Butler or sure. Xavier Rudd, you know, that kind of, I'd say like a little bit like greenie artists, which is great. And they're very successful messengers and they have an audience. I'd have to say their audience is already probably pretty engaged with environmental issues. And I was hoping to draw out other styles and types, and that actually was really the case. Okay. There was a whole diversity of songs. There was heaps of like pop songs. There was some kind of really, you know, much more melodic and songs that didn't quite fit the thing, that were like either a little bit of covers. There were some instrumentals that came in that didn't have lyrics and things like that. But there's one really strong electro song. Yeah, there are other heavy metal artists who applied. The thing about why there's this two-step process, I guess part of it is I didn't want to do something that was just nice, you know, that just felt good, like, oh, we're launching this environmental music prize, all these people apply, then we decide in a closed room and then we give the money away and we pat ourselves on the back and we feel good about us. Like, that wasn't interesting to me. Like, if people aren't interacting with the songs, if people aren't sharing them, if there isn't like massive reach, then it's not really very effective. It's a nice, you know, it's a nice little badge of honor you put somewhere, but it didn't really have an effect. Whereas like if in like, you know, my dream scenario is we managed to get a few media platforms and things to share it. One of the songs randomly goes viral for whatever reason that is, and is shared by lots of people and creates discussion, and then stories and things will be written about that. So obviously the artwork needs to live in audio format as well and be compelling just in that format. But if you can have the video as well, I guess why deprive yourself of like doubling the communication power of the song? You know, when you and I talk, 70% of communication is actually nonverbal. When we look at social media trends, for example, we know that video is exploding as like the format. That's why, you know, Facebook and Instagram and other platforms are launching reels and like really pushing video, because that's where consumers want to be. And obviously I used to work in documentary. I really believe in film and the power of sound and music combined to convey a message. And so I think what was important to me is that we just didn't have ideas for a song, but we actually had a finished product that could be judged, and most importantly was ready to be shared and to go viral. So I mean, obviously I want people to vote for the prize, but like actually what I personally care about more is that they watch the song, that it touches them in some way, and that they potentially share it with someone as a, you know, as a way to communicate an environmental message, or maybe touch someone in a way that it connect with someone in a way that they haven't done before. Yeah, for the moment, there's one $20,000 prize that I've put forward. The prize is obviously supposed to incentivize, will reward the artists that already are doing this great work of creating music that moves people. It's supposed to incentivize those that aren't doing it yet, but maybe would like to. And this might be a nice little nudge to be part of something. But then there's like a threefold exposure thing.
Okay.
Firstly, obviously, they're going to be like, first of all, most of these songs, we opened it up retrospectively. So songs that were released in the last 5 years, some of them got traction at the time, some of them didn't. Some were released in the middle of COVID and just kind of got drowned out. And so sometimes there are these amazing undiscovered gems that are sitting there that just like didn't come out at the right time, and so didn't get the recognition they deserve. Then there's the thing of being brought into a cohort together, and so being exposed to, like, there will be some very high profile artists on there, and so then people who like their work might suddenly discover someone who's lesser known, and they may suddenly get, you know, much more of a following. And then there's the thing of being discovered by non-music lovers, but more like the environmental groups or other people who might kind of come at it from more of like a non-music background, and suddenly discover and fall in love with a song. So every entry has the music video, has a bit about the artist, but it has also like why they've written the song. And so the objective is to really profile a few of the artists and their reason for writing the song. And they create really beautiful stories that can be profiled, not in the classic like music section, but in another kind of more lifestyle section that I'm hoping will appeal to people. And what I would like for the prize in future is actually hopefully to have creative agencies and things like that on partner to really like elevate it, so that it becomes this really beautiful thing that artists want to be part of, because not only to share their message, but also it's good for their brand and like positions their artwork in a good light. This is a not-for-profit organization. All donations are tax deductible through Green Music Australia. So I'm active in the back end trying to raise more money for the prize. And yeah, I would love to have a bigger prize pool to be able to reward more artists. Yeah, so I guess the ideal thing that people can do is join on socials, follow and share the stories that appeal to them, and then of course sign up for the newsletter when the 20 finalists are announced. We'd love you to watch, to share, to vote, and then to share the songs that resonate with you.